Hey everyone, this is James, a notorious banker, and this is a special commentary. You may be wondering who that person is over my shoulder. No, I'm not talking about the picture of me, although I am wearing the same jacket as that cartoon. I'm talking about the person on the other side of me. That's CFO of Wells Fargo, John Shrewsberry, and he made it into my podcast this week. According to Austin Weinstein of the Charlotte Observer, John Shrewsberry announced in a call with investors that they're going to need to cut back about $10 billion in spending at Wells Fargo over the course of the next 4 years. And he said the majority of that spending is going to be mostly people. Well, that's reassuring. More people are going to lose their jobs in America. How about that? What Mr. Shrewsbury didn't mention, though, is that according to a quick Google search, in 2019, he made $12 million in total compensation. Mind you, I was a manager of a bank branch for another company, Bank of America, and the most I ever made was $22 an hour. Mr. Shrewsbury makes $6,000 an hour, and he has the nerve to say that mostly people are going to be part of the cutbacks. Who are going to be the mostly people? It's going to be infrastructure. So, the bad service that you get at Wells Fargo is only going to get worse because the people at the other end of a phone call or at the other end of a web chat are no longer going to be there, or worse yet, they may be outsourced to somewhere else. Mr. Shrewsbury made a point that yes, Wells Fargo was losing money. They actually lost $2 billion. Dollars. For the first time in a decade, they lost money in a quarter. Quarter two was no picnic for so many other companies, including Bank of America and Chase, although they did turn a profit. Wells Fargo has been beset by the scandals of 2016 with the phony accounts or unauthorized account scandal and various other things that have got them in hot water. And then they have the nerve to say, well, in order to continue on and to turn a profit, we're going to have to cut the one thing that actually may turn it around, and that's the people. So many people who work in banking will tell you it's the little people that make the ship run. Yes, there's bad customer service in branches at Wells Fargo, just like there is at any other bank that is dealing with issues like this. But there's one thing that I can attest to. They don't get nearly paid enough as Mr. Shrewsbury does. Now, Mr. Shrewsbury got $2 million in base salary and about $9.5 million in stock options. Now, mind you, with the stock options and the stock just in general, if the stock goes up, he's going to make a lot more than $12 million. So that compensation that he's given can actually be, double if everything happens the right way. So of course, cutting back costs and of course cutting back staff means that there's a possibility that they're going to turn a profit and that stock is going to go up. And that means Mr. Shrewsbury and other people like him and CEO Charlie Sharp are only going to get richer. Now, I understand that Wells Fargo is likely to close branches. It was also in Austin Weinstein's article that they plan on closing 300 branches this year. Wells Fargo has a ton of branches. They have branches in towns that you've never heard of. And I could attest to that because there's a lot of them here in New Mexico. And those people were bound to lose their jobs anyway because you know what? There's not enough people to sustain a branch like that. But they're also cutting them in big cities too. So it's not just a small town effect, it's everywhere. And then, the customer service reps that you call with the 1-800 number, well, guess what? Those people are going to be fewer and far between because Mr. Shrewsbury says that they need to cut the fat. $10 billion in cutbacks is a hell of a lot of money. And it's a hell of a lot of money even whenever your bank doesn't spend on its own people. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go in the next 4 years because I really don't believe that they can get to $10 billion without cutting some of the excess fat, like a $12 million employee in Mr. Shrewsbury. Wells Fargo has a lot of growing up to do, and we know that. We understand that. The last 4 years have been a testament to, big banks run amok. But at the end of the day, tens of thousands of people are going to lose their jobs. 5,000 people lost their jobs in the phony account scandal, the majority of which weren't even the ones that were spearheading that particular scandal. They were the worker ants. They were the worker bees. They were the ones doing the bidding of the regional and area executives. Someone like Mr. Shrewsbury succeeded and thrived over, fake accounts and overselling the hell out of customers and everything. And then who's going to end up being cut back? The people that oversell those customers, the people that push to get a quarterly sales goal that'll net them a couple of $1,000s and that'll net Mr. Shrewsbury a couple of $1,000,000. Now, I don't have all the answers. Hell, I never worked for Wells Fargo a day in my life, but I do know one thing, that someone who makes $12 million telling someone who makes $30,000 that they're expendable and they're likely to lose their job is someone I don't want to listen to. Because you got to take a look in the mirror and say, hey, I'm making $12 million. Our CEO is making $39 million this year. Maybe we're part of the problem. Now, every bank pays their executives a hell of a lot of money, so I'm not going to fault him for taking that money, but I am going to fault him for one thing, thinking that cutting all this staff is going to actually make this bank succeed again. It's not. It's just going to be one other thing that's going to be on the fire and saying Wells Fargo is failing customers again because it looks like they cut back a lot of staff. Mr. Shrewsberry is retiring at the end of the year, and someone will take his place. Maybe someone a little bit younger, and someone who's going to ask for that $12 million in compensation. And maybe that person's my age. Maybe that person's in their late 30s, and they say, hey, I like this Wells Fargo place. I'm going to work here the next 30 years. If that person works there the next 30 years and he makes $12 million a year, that's $360 million in compensation for that guy. Whenever $10 billion was cut back, impacting the lives of tens of thousands of employees, hundreds of thousands of their family members, and millions of bank customers. Hell with that. Wells Fargo needs to look in the mirror and find other things to cut back. Maybe getting rid of some of their lines of businesses. Student loans and auto loans are the ones that are at the top of my head. And focusing more on good customer service. Because you know what? I am a firm believer in good customer service will start to generate more revenue, more customers, and maybe they'll be successful that way. Who knows? All I can tell you is the person on the left didn't make a lot of money. The person in the middle does not make a lot of money doing this notorious banker thing. But the other person, Mr. Shrewsberry, makes $12 million telling people that they're not worth the money that they're getting paid. My name is James, the Notorious Banker, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also follow me at BankBetterGuy on Twitter, but most importantly, subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/notoriousbanker, where for as little as a $1 subscription, you can help the Notorious Banker fight back against big banks and also give you extraordinary commentary like I just gave you right now. I do not like the way big banks operate, and something like this is one of those reasons why your bank sucks and why we are going to fight back. We'll talk to you very soon. You have a good day.